But then I get overwhelmed. But I need to make it to my car so it doesn't get towed. I have a very bad sense of direction. Where I'm at, I'm really nervous and scared, and I don't understand. I go sharp left, and then you go sharp right. Just need a shuttle. Hello.
Hello.
This is Lavender Fiber Co., part owner of Lavender Fiber Co., and this is
Maddie from Maddie May Crafts.
And we are going to be talking about our trip to New York, Rhinebeck, and Woolen Folk, but not in that order. 22nd of October is when we returned, and it has taken 2 full weeks to finally kind of just collect my thoughts. I feel like it's been so long ago since we came back from New York.
It does. Feels like it's been almost like a year.
Okay, that's a little bit longer or shorter.
Well, my
Or wait, what?
feels like that.
I don't know how to talk. That's much longer than I feel. I feel like it's been like maybe a month. So we want to start by talking day by day. So we are from Nashville, Tennessee, and I want to say that basically we are not from the whole environment of Rhinebeck, and we were not prepared for everything that we had to go through. And it was quite an event. First of all, I thought it rained a lot here.
Yeah.
It clearly rains a lot there. And we have floods as well. And basically, we have a lot of water when it does rain, and it rains sideways, and it's not cute. So we're like very familiar with that kind of rain. Mm-hmm. So day one was we got there on Wednesday because we knew there was 2 events we wanted to go to when we arrived. The first one being Woolen Folk.
Yes.
And the second one being Rhinebeck. I have only been dyeing yarn for a little over a year, and I didn't know a lot about Rhinebeck, but I did know it was like the biggest deal. It's like basically the Super Bowl of yarn. So I thought that this year would be a great year for us to go, and Woolen Folk was having an event as well. And years prior, they had events, but this was the first time they were going to have a warm-up dinner. So we decided to go to that. Mm-hmm. We paid $259 plus a $19.83 sales tax. So it was roughly a little under $300 per ticket. So I'll go a little bit more into detail about that, but let me go ahead and rewind back to the very first day and why I was trying to explain to you how we're from Nashville, Tennessee, and we are not familiar with Rhinebeck, which is in New York, 2 hours from JFK, and population 7,000, where population New York is 7 million. So, completely night and day. I learned so much on being able to travel, and it was so confusing. And this is a true story. I'm not even making this up. We decided to go and drop ourselves in JFK, International Airport. But in order to get there, we had to take an Uber to our airport, Nashville Airport, B&A, because I wasn't taking my car. And then we decided to take the Nashville plane, B&A, to JFK. So then once we got to JFK, we had to take a taxi to go to
Penn Station.
Penn Station, thank you.
Which is in the middle of like Manhattan.
Right, which is 16 miles away. But the taxi driver's like, it's going to take an hour. And I'm like, there's no way 16 miles is going to take an hour. Spoiler alert. It took over an hour. So we're going, and I'm looking at my map, and it literally says 23 minutes to move 1 mile. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel like I could walk faster. I'm pretty sure all the locals from New York, and I actually watched a video the other day on Instagram that stated the New York math. So that is very true. You can definitely walk faster than you can drive. So once we did that, so now so far we've taken an Uber, a plane, a taxi, and now we're about to take a train. So we get to Penn Station, and this place is huge. And it's like this big thing in the middle and then there's this circle around it that where you can't see through the middle, so it's blocked off, and then you're literally just walking around in this circle. And then there's all of these things on the wall that look like airplane logistics of if you have to go here and you're leaving here and you have to go there. At this point, I think we actually had more, I think, in our system at this point to eat and drink. We haven't eaten yet. We've had a drink from Starbucks from the hotel at Nashville.
Yes.
We had an Irish cream. Did I say?
You said hotel.
Yeah. No, we're not a hotel yet. Sorry. So basically, we get an Irish cream latte at Starbucks, which is obviously in my older videos, equal parts caramel, vanilla, and hazelnut. So delish. Highly recommend.
Very delicious.
And so far, we've only had that. Oh, and we had some snacks on the plane, which was 2 things of pretzels.
Yep, we got pretzels.
And I had a ginger ale, and then you swore by the juice, but long story short, she never drinks the juice. But we had to carry it like everywhere. So we end up at Penn Station. I don't know how to get on our train. Clearly, she doesn't know how to get on the train. It's not her responsibility. I have to use the bathroom, so I'm using the bathroom, and it's not exactly the cleanest, but it is what it is. And we leave. Mind you, they've spent like billions of dollars renovating this Amtrak place, but the bathrooms were lacking. And so we finally figure it out, but somehow it's so scary because like everybody's waiting to go on their train, and I feel like we had to go through a door and a staircase and another door and then around the corner, and it was really like scary. I'm like, well, I don't know where I'm going. So far, if you guys are keeping track, we've taken an Uber, a plane, a taxi, and now a train. We're on this train, but we don't know if we're on the right train. So we're like, this looks like the right train. So we get on the train. Now we're on the train. But now we have to be on a train to go on another train.
Yes.
Right?
Wait.
No. Is this the train that takes us there?
It takes us to like 5 different locations.
Oh,
we just get off at the one where you're going to.
We're trying to go to Poughkeepsie. So we think we're slick, right? Because there's one for Rhinecliff and there's a stop for Poughkeepsie. So we're like, okay, we'll go to Poughkeepsie. So we get to Poughkeepsie, and then we're like carrying our suitcase, carry-on everywhere. Maddie's like super tiny. She's getting off the train, and there's this guy. He's like huge, and basically grabs Maddie's suitcase and like lifts her up because he's like Iron Man, and then puts her down with the suitcase, and then helps her go on her merry way. It is almost 5 o'clock, I think, at this point. 5 p.m.
Yes.
We left at like 8 in the morning, I think.
No, 7:15.
7:15 in the morning. That's right.
That's
right. That's important because we were taking track. 12 hours later. I'll fill you get in on that one. We are finally at our destination in Poughkeepsie. And next thing I know, they told me at Enterprise to call them before 4:30. I am freaking out thinking that I'm going to have to Uber to our hotel. Okay, I don't mind Ubering to the hotel, but being able to get picked up by Enterprise is more of a security because I know that if I get picked up from them, they won't close and then I won't be without a car. Not that that's not a big deal either, but I had it in my mind. I had it all planned and it was supposed to go smoothly. They don't answer the phone. I'm like, oh my goodness, calling my husband. What do I do? He's like, go ahead and call an Uber. So I call an Uber. And then finally, as the Uber's like on its way, I'm calling Enterprise because I'm crazy. And Enterprise is like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh my God, can you come get me? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, well, where do I go? They're like, well, go where the taxi pickups are. Okay. Even though I'm in like Poughkeepsie train station, it's huge. And I still don't know where I'm going. I'm like lost. Little side story. I have a very bad sense of direction. I am the friend that can't make it out of my own neighborhood, okay? I have a very bad sense of direction. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret. I'm not a very good driver. This is terrifying. So I am dependent on Maddie to find signs for taxis, and I'm like, do you see any? Do you see? I finally see it says like ground transportation, and I'm like, oh, okay. So we follow all those signs. We finally find the place, but then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where my Enterprise driver is driving. I'm like, that's important to ask. Well, too late for that, because good luck trying to get through. And then my Uber driver's like, I'm here, and I'm like, well, I don't need it anymore. And he's like, then cancel the trip. And it said cancellation $6, and I was being like cheap, and I didn't want to pay the $6, but I'm like, it's not nice to reserve an Uber and then cancel and then, you know, expect them to just be all hunky-dory. So long story short, he got $6. I got the Enterprise car, finally picked me up. They take me an Enterprise, and then I get an upgrade. Thank you, Enterprise, of getting a minivan, which is great because that's normally what I drive anyway. And so we get all our stuff, we put it in there. I'm calling this guy Patrick. His name's not Patrick. His name is something else. So sorry. And because Patrick's the one that answered the phone. And then Maddie and I get into our vehicle, and now we are headed towards our hotel. Mm-hmm. Right?
Wait, no, we're heading
my blood sugar level's low. Maddie's blood sugar level's low. Mind you, we've only had an Irish cream latte, some pretzels, ginger ale, and zero juice. And
I still have the juice, though, in my pocket.
Right. Well, your book bag.
Oh, yeah, not
This is a giant can of juice. We're struggling because we're like, I am so tired, but we're not hungry. We're just dying at this point. Because we're so, like, I get motion sickness, you get motion sickness. So we're not exactly hungry, but we know we should probably fuel our body. And my husband's like, go get food. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm kind of scared that the hotel concierge won't be there when we show up. But then at that point, I was like, I don't even care. So we looked up and Googled a place to eat. And I found Corpot. Or was Corpot on my list of places to eat?
Oh, it was on the list of places.
It was on the list, past me, it was great. So it was on the list of places to go eat. And so we go, this restaurant is like at the edge of Poughkeepsie. So it's like going towards Woollenfolk, but at the edge of Poughkeepsie.
Yes, it's pretty far.
It is far. It took like 25 minutes to get there.
It's like the south of Poughkeepsie.
Right. So we get there. We find the place. And then we go in, and it's fancy. It's super fancy, but we're hungry. We don't care. We look homeless. And it's going on like 6 o'clock, I think, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 5:30-ish. So then we sit down, we order food, and we decide that we're going to share bulgogi because our stomach, we're still not hungry, but we know we need to eat. So we split a bulgogi, we get some rice that's like purple. It's like the bean rice. And then we end up getting some radish, some banchan, some mandu. Was there something else we got? I feel like
kimchi pancake.
Kimchi pancake. She loves kimchi pancake. So we get kimchi pancake. And we didn't know this at the time, but the owner served us our food.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The lady, she was the owner. So she served us the food, and she was so nice. And I thought she was the waitress, but she was just really nice. And then we ate. I felt normal again.
Me too.
And then we went, and we're like, okay, now we're going to go to the Habitas and go where we're staying. So we go, and we get there, and
oh, yeah, before
it's
that,
dark.
You missed like 2 turns.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, so the right turns and the turns at Rhinebeck, New York it's like a joke. It's like a practical joke because you're like trying to figure out when to turn, but you can't because the turn's gone. And you're like, oh. But then when you do take the turn, it's not just a turn. It's a turn, backward turn. And you're like, what? Or it's a turn and then a left turn. And you're like, holy cow. So every time you went to the Habitas, you would literally take a right turn. Then you go sharp left, and then you go sharp right. So it's like a zigzag. And I'm like, what is this? But it's like dark. It is dark. So dark, you can barely see in front of you. I apparently missed my turn because it's so dark. And so now we're at the back of the Habitas, and there's like Christmas lights. So I'm like, oh, I can see Christmas lights. I don't know how to get in the hotel. Maddie and I are like exhausted. Our bellies are full. We go in, and I'm like so confused. Did we end up going through the dining area or the back door?
We went through the dining area for the breakfast area, but you had to call someone first.
Did I call
We
somebody?
were so confused. Because it looked like the
Nobody was
back
there?
for like all the employees and stuff.
Yeah, it was so confusing. Did we end up in the dining hall first? Is that
Yeah.
Okay, so we end up at the dining hall, and I don't know, like I don't see anybody because at this point it's pretty much shutting down, like they're closing or whatever. And so I call. No, I called them before I went in, right?
Yeah, we called them before.
And I'm like, hi, are you guys still open? I think I was in the parking lot. I'm like, hey, are you guys still open? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, great. I'm here, but I don't know where I'm at. And they're like, okay, we'll stay there and we'll find you. And I'm like, okay. Somebody comes out. That's what it was. They met us outside. And they walk through the trees and the bushes and the little trail. And I'm like, I think I see somebody. And they're like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey. And it was one of the owners. And I'm like, hi, we're here to check into our rooms. And he's like, oh, okay, well, we'll get you all set up, fill out some paperwork, and then give you your key and then show you to your room. So then he sends his manager to basically walk us to the rooms. But I got confused, and I'm like, are you driving? And he's like, so the Habitas is a part of a mansion where the dining and the concierge are located and lounging area. And I'm assuming yoga, but we never did that either. But then there's lounging areas that are not on the same area. It's separated in another area. And if you don't go the correct way, you end up on private property. And so that happened to us a couple times. So you go down like a gravel driveway, and then there's like a lounge area, and there's like a separate parking spot for that. So I was confused. I'm like, are you driving? And he's like, not your car. And I'm like, if you want, you can. Like, I don't know where I'm going. And then Maddie's like, I think he wants you to follow him. And I'm like, where is he? And then there was somebody else helping somebody get stuff in a trunk. And I'm like, is that him? And Maddie's like, no, he's around. So I like had to follow him. It was really dark. Finally find the place and the rooms. This one sounds so bad. They're a little bit small, which is fine. But I didn't expect to like open the door and like touch the bed. But
it was really small.
That's okay. It was okay because it was still cute and quaint. But the funny part was there was no door to the bathroom, like the shower part. So my daughter's like, hey, Mom, there's no door to the shower. And I'm like, yes, there is. Shower curtain. And I'm like showing her like she's slow. And I'm like, see? And then she's like, no, there's no door to close the door. And I'm like, because it was an open archway. And I told her
to the bedroom.
And I'm like, when I'm showering, like, don't look at me when I get naked. And she's like, I don't want to see you naked. And I'm like, you'd be lucky to see me naked because, I'm awkward. So then after all that, we get our stuff situated. We get another suitcase rack thing. And then we basically shower and wind down. And by this time, when we got to the hotel, it was 7:12. So we had been
so late.
traveling and going places off and on for 12 hours, just about. That was day one.
Oh, wait. But then we also got tea that night, too.
Oh, my God, that was amazing. That became part of our ritual. So I like doing things repeatedly the same way every day because it's familiar to me. It helps kind of center me, and I like to know what's going to happen, and it's really good. It doesn't wreak havoc on my nervous system. Is the battery dying? Or did it just dim?
I think it's halfway.
Okay. So anyway, basically we were able to get some tea. So before
back out.
we came, that might be where it dimmed a little. So before we decided to go, I called and they said they would include breakfast plus a drink.
Yes.
But what they didn't tell us is that they weren't going to charge us for any food or any drinks that we ordered, as long as it wasn't like on a buffet day. On buffet days, they did charge for separate meals, like if you wanted eggs over easy or if you wanted a burger on top of the buffet. But we paid for nothing. But luckily, we kind of did, because to stay there one night on an average night when it's not Rhinebeck is $250. We ended up paying $500 a night per stay. And no matter if you stay on a $250 night or a $500 night, the breakfast is included. So I decided to order the same thing until my daughter noticed that they had a breakfast sandwich with bacon and eggs and Gouda, and it was so good. But my stomach did not like it because it was oily, but it is what it is. But we were able to have tea, and this tea I ended up buying when I got home. It's an Egyptian chamomile tea, and it was so good. We drank it out of like a pottery cup with honey, and it was
amazing.
It was the most stress-free, amazing thing to just kind of wind down. And they said that they stayed open until 8 o'clock, 8:45 at the latest. So every night when we came home to unwind, we'd have one of those before we go to bed and prep ourselves for wind down time. But this was all Wednesday. Woolen Folk, Thursday was the big event. It was the 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. warm-up dinner event, where basically you were able to, from what the description stated on the ticket, it stated that for $259, it would give you early access to all the vendors that were going to be there. You would also be promised a dinner, and you were basically from 4 to 9, it was reserved for those people and those people only who purchased a ticket for that night. And then it also promised you a entrance for the next day as well, the Friday time period, where everybody, roughly I think 3,000 people, sold out tickets were to attend. So I was nervous about the parking. And little side note, my husband, once I told him everything that was happening before we even left, I told him that it said the venue had changed 3 to 4 weeks prior, which I didn't care because I didn't think that was a big deal. I thought, oh wow, she's looking out for the people so they can be out of the rain. It'll be good. Sounds great. And it's a bigger area. But I still thought it was weird. And then there was hardly any parking for easy accessibilities. That was a concern. And then the ADA, the limit for how many people were to be in there, because I saw that it had only a capacity of 5,000. And no book bags were allowed, which I thought was also strange. And then it said that if you recorded anything over 30 seconds, you had to sign a waiver. And it just started getting weirder. On top of that, it was no longer this fancy dinner I envisioned in my head. It was a buffet style dinner with chicken, some vegan curry, cookies, and some coffee. And I thought for $250, I was hoping for a little bit more. And so when I told my husband all this, he was like, this sounds like the Fire Festival. I had never heard of the Fire Festival beforehand, but I did end up watching the movie. And as I'm watching the movie, it is literally making me sick to my stomach because it feels very Fire Festival-y. And people end up calling this festival the Fiber Festival. So to go into it, Thursday, Maddie and I had glam. And we had it with Ariana, which she's amazing. She is a specialist with dermatology. She is incredible. And she was our glam person for majority of our trip. And she made us look so good. It was so exciting. And she also had breakfast with us. We chit-chat forever. Nice. And so we did glam that morning at 8.
Yes.
Hair and makeup. And then we decided to get that done. And as I was getting my hair and makeup done, you went to go eat breakfast. And you had a
parfait.
Yes.
It was so good.
You sent me a picture of it. And you didn't sit at the bar. You sat at one of those tables with like this beautiful display of ceramic underneath. Mm-hmm. It was such an aesthetic photo. And you got a latte?
No, I didn't remember.
She got zero drink. because the wait staff was like, do you want anything? Do you want anything to drink? And she's like, no, I'm fine. Because, like, it's just automatic. She's, you know how you're like, I'm good. Like, thank you for the free food. I'm good. But then when they left, she's like, no, wait. I didn't mean it. Okay, no. So,
Too late.
did they ever come back?
No.
Okay, so they never came back. And
Wait, no, they did.
They
I
did?
take that back. They did come
Okay,
back.
but
Only once.
but
they
they
asked
didn't
me
say
how
anything.
if the meal was good.
Oh.
And I said, yes, it was very good.
Okay, right.
Not
Lacking.
without the tea.
Right. So she didn't get any tea, unfortunately. You got water, right?
I did get water.
Okay, she did tell me she got water. So then she's getting her hair and makeup done, and then I go to eat avocado and toast, which I ended up replicating that at home. So then, after all that, we get done, and then we get dressed. So glam was at 8, 9, 10. So we got done around 10:30-ish.
Yes.
Get dressed. It's almost 11. And then what did we do?
What did we do?
What did we do? Did we go to Walmart?
Oh, wait, no, we had to drive there. Wait, no.
Well, no, I know we had to drive. Did we go to Walmart that day? Or was that another day?
I think that, wait.
Was that the next day? I think
that was that same day.
it was the same day after, wasn't it? What did we do for like internal temperature too high? Okay, we are back. Day 2, round 2, battery issues. Tuck a Sony battery. Word to the wise, Sony batteries do not charge in a Canon charger. Had no idea that's what I was doing. So, we're on day 2, which is Thursday, the warm-up.
Yes.
We are trying to find a place to park on Main Street. I have no money. And we end up at a bank, but they don't have any money. And I'm telling them I'm from a location where there is an app you can use for the meters. There is a credit card you can swipe, but it's asking for coins. I have only $20. I don't have any quarters. I don't know what to do. And so they told me they had no money, so I would have to go next door. I go next door, and I try to tell them from where I'm from, they take a card. You can download an app. I have 20 bucks, but I have no quarters. Finally, a nice gentleman, his name was Alan, and he told me that he knew the lady that was the owner, Stephanie, of the Foreland, which is where we were going to have the event at.
Yes.
So he was nice enough to give us $1, which was so incredible. 4 quarters. I'd never been so happy to have change in my life. So, mind you, I have to use the bathroom like so bad. But I need to make it to my car so it doesn't get towed. But at that point, I should have just waited for it to get towed and asked the person towing my car if they had 4 quarters. But we put 4 quarters into the meter, good to go. And because we got there at 3, we only had to pay for an hour. And I had plenty of money for that. So then, now it's like 3:20, 3:25, almost 3:30. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, if I leave, I'm scared I won't get this parking again. So I told Maddie, I'm like, well, no matter what, I have to use the bathroom. Like, I need to go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we're going towards Foreland, and one of the main doors doesn't open. But I was able to get the side door open, and luckily that's where the bathroom was. But the whole time Maddie's like, don't go in there, don't go in there. And I'm like, I have to pee. Like, there has to be a bathroom somewhere. But I found a bathroom. It was like a single bathroom. Like, the kind of bathroom you find when you're on campus is just, you open the door and then there's the sink, there's the toilet, am I covering you up? Am I like this? So I go in there, I'm super excited, there's a bathroom. So I use the bathroom, I'm telling Maddie, I'm like, hold my coat, hold my bag, I gotta use the bathroom. And then the buttons off my jacket fall off, which is fine. And I'm like a hot mess. And then finally, I finish using the bathroom, we get out, and I'm feeling like $1 million. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling like $1 million, let's do this. It's 3:30. The event starts at 4. I have no idea where the entrance is. I don't know where to go. I have no idea where to, show up at. I'm just like, I'm here for yarn and food. So I see a couple of people like setting up the booth, whatever the case is, they're setting up. And I told Maddie, I was like, let's go talk and check out the yarn dyers. And my daughter's like, yeah, no, we shouldn't. It's not even 4 o'clock. And I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do. We're just standing around. And, you know, I'm feeling like $1,000,000 because I've just used the bathroom. So what do you want to do? And she's like, well, I don't know. And then I saw to my right, I saw Sorella Yarns, Ashley. So I'm like, let's go over there. And Maddie's like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm going. So I start walking, and she's got this area that's on this deck area. It's almost like a backyard porch, if you will. And it's real nice. And honestly, in my opinion, I think she got the best spot in the whole entire area. But it was outdoors, and her display was just so pretty. And we bought some yarn there. And we really like Ashley. She's really nice. And we got to chit-chatting with her. And considering it was only 3:30, I basically talked to her for probably 10 to 20 minutes. And then finally it was like time to try to figure out where to go. Plus I didn't want to take up all her time. So we left there, and then we tried to go find the entrance. And it was on the side of a building, like with a table. And they were giving out bracelets. And they were scanning tickets. And I think we were like, I don't know, one of the first 10 to scan our tickets, or the first 5.
I think so. It was still pretty empty over there.
It was. And so they gave us a red bracelet, and they told us to hold on to it for tomorrow. And I was like, can I put on my bag? And they're like, no, you have to put on your wrist. And I'm like, okay, which honestly it wouldn't matter if I put on my bag, because I literally pulled it out of my bag the next day and was like, here's my bracelet. We sign in, we get there, and I'm like, where do we go? So we start walking, we see some tents set up, and I'm like, I don't know where to go. And I had like a list of dyers that I did want to visit, but it became a little different once you get there.
It did, yeah. The layout was really weird.
It was a little overwhelming, because once you got there, it was like, boom, dyers and yarn. And then it was like, well, I don't know where to start. And I didn't see some of the dyers. Like, I didn't know who was what and where. And I didn't, like, some of the booths, I didn't see the people. And then some of the booths, I wasn't sure if the customer was the one selling. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. It was a little hectic. So then I started kind of trying to maneuver, but then I realized that we ended up basically seeing yarn dyers pop up in different areas where it's like, okay, is this a place where I can go to walk? I'm like, is this territory that I'm allowed to go? Or is this like forbidden territory? Is this going to lead to the bathrooms? Is this where they're going to cook the food? Like, I don't know where is what's a no-fly zone and where is it okay to go. And it wasn't very, I guess, organized in a sense, where it wasn't mapped out to logistically make sense as to where to go. So we just started walking. And then we noticed that we saw a couple of booths to the right through a door. But then when you went through that way, it was like, okay, did I just come from that way? Or do I go back that way again? And then there was a sign that said 5th floor, more dyers. So we were like, what? So then we took the elevator and we're like, okay. And that was where we ended up meeting Madeline Tosh, a couple of other dyers, right?
No. They weren't in the elevator area. They were in that building where Sorella was, in that deck. If you go into it.
Madeline Tosh was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw her big neon sign from like the outside.
We met Anne-Marie, the yarn visionary of Madeline Tosh, and she was so great, so sweet.
She was so sweet.
So kind and so helpful, and we were able to take pictures with her, chit chat with her, and yeah, that was really fun. And then we were kind of, first thing that we did was kind of scout out all the dyers first before buying any yarn, because, well, that was kind of good and kind of bad, because once we did that, we didn't leave enough breadcrumbs, so we didn't know how to find our way back. And then on top of that, wait, that wasn't the day we did our modeling, right? No, that wasn't. That was day 2.
No, that was day 2, yeah.
Okay.
Day 2, women folk.
So I know that the first day was a little bit chaotic, and had it been crowded, it would have been very overwhelming. So I can only imagine what it felt like for people who didn't buy the pre-ticket warm-up dinner, because I myself had a hard time maneuvering around and figuring out where everything was logistically when I was already there way ahead of time and there was like hardly anyone there. So I cannot even imagine with the torrential downpour, all the mud, the logistics, people, crowd, the mess that unfolded the next day. So what ended up happening was we started shopping and got most of our shopping done at about 5:45, I want to say.
Yes.
And at 6, we met these really, really awesome ladies, and they were just so sweet. And do you remember all their companies? I know Sinful Yarns.
Sinful, and then there's
Yarn Cafe.
Yarn Cafe, yes. And then the other one.
Dragon.
Yes, the Dragon.
Thank you for helping.
Dragon.
We will include all of their names down below. They are really awesome. They're a mother-sister, or mother-daughter. What's wrong with me? Mother-daughter's collab situation, and they were so sweet, and we had just such a good time chit-chatting with them, taking tons of photos with them, and just really winding down. And it was interesting because they shut down the shopping like right when a little bit after we got there.
Yep.
And then like forced people to eat. We wanted to eat at Core Pot.
Yeah.
Moving forward to the meal. So we go and we check out the dining area.
Oh, yeah.
And the seating, okay, so they sold around 250 tickets. The seating was enough for maybe 120. And I counted. And I'm even talking about the one near the river area as well. And that's where Maddie and I sat. I will say that we did show up about 10-15 minutes late for the dinner because we were kind of on the fence of whether or not we were going to go, because at this point I was all about eating Core Pot and then having my like nightly tea, and so I didn't want to. We get there, there's only enough seating for 120 people, and it's so chaotic. There's literally a buffet on the right and a buffet on the left, and it's the same buffet. So they had chicken, they had roasted potatoes, vegan curry,
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts. And then you can leave the talking to me.
Okay.
And a salad with like some sort of cheese. And that was it. And so my daughter just got chicken, and then I got the Brussels sprouts chicken.
Some potatoes too.
Okay. And then the water cups were like this big. It's like a shot of water. I'm sitting there and I go to sit down, and next thing you know, my seat does this. Like it rocks. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And I let out, like, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then the lady across from me is talking to me, and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I just had my whole life flash before my eyes. And she's like, oh, like, I'm like, we're on a hill, and my chair is like here, and it's rocky because the land isn't like this, it's like this. I thought I was gonna fall into the river. Unfortunately, the lady behind, okay, so here I am sitting here. Here's the lady that's sitting in front of me, right? Then there's somebody behind her. They fall. You hear like boom, thud. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what happened? And I didn't even know that somebody fell because I'm on an incline, so I can't see anything because I'm short, I'm on an incline. I'm thinking I'm going to die. And I'm kind of hungry, so I'm like stuffing my face. And next thing I know, I see everybody getting up. And I'm like, what happened? And I look over and I'm like, is it somebody on the ground? And all I could think about was, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen to me. And now this poor lady is on the ground. She has her phone at her chest. She can't even move. Everyone's terrified. Somebody goes and gets Felicia. And Felicia gets someone to try to help her up. I think they ended up taking her to the hospital.
No, she was fine. They got her. She was able to get up and finish eating and stuff.
Okay, so she was able to. I think it just shocked her, and she might have hurt. I think she said she hurt her shoulder,
left shoulder,
and so she was able to get up and finish her meal. Thank goodness, but thankfully it wasn't. Thankfully she didn't like fall into the river, because all these chairs, the way they were lined up, was just. It was not good.
And they weren't very sturdy either.
No. And so then after that, not because of that, like we didn't leave because of that, but after like a few minutes, we're like, we should go, because I noticed that people were getting progressively more intoxicated, so which is fine. And, you know, I'm down for a good time, but I was getting tired. I had my daughter with me, and I was thinking, you know, let's try to make it home in time to get our nightcap tea. And so we excused ourselves, and we left at like 7:15, I think it was. Does that sound about right? Yeah. Okay, so we leave, or it was like 7:38, honestly. It might have been.
Oh, yeah, and then we also got a bag, too, from them.
We did. We left so early that we got a bag, but the bag was like, you got like, it was a water bottle that said Raverly. It was a bag made out of a t-shirt or 2 t-shirts.
And it said, the more I like look at the bag, it's actually really cute.
You're welcome.
I don't thank you for convincing me to keep it. It's a really nice bag.
I know, like when I saw it, I was like,
and it's stretchy too.
I know, the material.
Which still means I can fit a bunch of yarn in there.
Right. Well, you can also use it.
That is like sweater quantity in there.
You can use it for pattern to do your own kind of thing too.
I know exactly.
Overall, we left. We were glad to get out of there. It was slightly like overwhelming.
A bit congested too.
Very congested, even though there wasn't a lot of people there. So then, after all that was said and done, we decided to get some rest. And then the next day we had glam again. And we had to show up. The event started at 12. But I don't even know why we showed up so late. We did glam at 8.
Oh, yeah, and then we ate breakfast afterwards.
No, I know that, but like we didn't get there until like 2. Like 30.
Oh, that's because we had to figure out parking.
Well, no, not that long. Oh my gosh, I remember.
Like 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so I remember now. I remember what I was going to say. It was on the hunt of trying to find the shuttle. That's what it was. How we kept trying to get on different shuttles.
Ah, that's right.
So, okay, so we are like, okay, we can't park on Main Street. There's no parking. Today is the day. There was 0 parking. We missed the giant line, thank goodness, and it is raining. It is pouring rain. And so we get there, and don't do that. Put your feet down. Okay. It's distracting. So we get there, and it is raining. We're trying to figure out a place to park, and I'm like, okay, we're going to try these shuttle things out. Like, they have to have these. We get to Walmart, and we see a shuttle, and we're like, psh, easy, right? Was there anyone in there or no? The first one? No. But then there ended up being somebody. Yes. And then they drove away. But then they told you the shuttle was around. Or they like went like this.
Yeah, they made like a circular
So it's like a giant shuttle. We're trying to just get on any shuttle because we're like, will you please take us? And everybody's like, no. So we get on this giant shuttle. I send Maddie. Probably shouldn't send Maddie, but I did. And she's like, yeah, they told us the shuttle's over there. I see another shuttle, and I'm like, ooh, that must be the shuttle. And there's this Asian guy sitting there. He's like smiling, and he's like, oh, no. This isn't your shuttle. And I'm like, okay. And he's like eating a sandwich, and I'm like, clearly it's your lunch break, so don't let us interfere. This is the second shuttle. Then I see another shuttle, because he's like, oh no, go around, it's going around. So I'm like, okay. And so then I go, and I'm in front of Walmart. We're in like the middle of nowhere, and I feel like I don't belong. Like it's uncomfortable. So I'm like waiting for the shuttle. The shuttle shows up. There's like a little shuttle, short shuttle. And I'm like, hey, are you the shuttle to take us to Foreland? They don't know what Foreland is. And he's like, and then he like yells at me, and he's like, no, this is not shuttle for you. we don't go, far, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then the guy behind him's like, are you sure we can't take them? And I'm like, okay, it's cool. We'll find another shuttle. How did we figure out it was in the back?
Oh, we had to go inside Walmart.
Oh my gosh. So then I go inside Walmart. I'm looking for a GM. I'm like, I need a shuttle. So I'm trying to find a GM. Nobody can find a GM. And I'm like talking to anybody wearing blue. At this point, I'm just like, do you know anything about a shuttle? Can I get a shuttle? Do I need to call an Uber? Like, what's happening? Mind you, this entire time, we have zero internet, right? Zero. I can't call an Uber. My apps are not working. I can't call for help on Instagram. Like, I can't. And then, like, there's no, like, the phone won't work. Like, I'm like, where am I? Like, I'm terrified. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I'm really nervous and scared. And I don't understand. I'm like, I just need a shuttle. So finally, we speak to a girl. And she's like, yeah. I was here when they talked about that shuttle. I'm like, yo, where are they? She's like, it's in the auto parts. And I actually guessed that it would be an auto parts. So I saw Maddie and I was like, that makes sense. So we go get back in the vehicle. It's raining and we're going around. And there's literally somebody with a giant umbrella that's like, you guys here are you guys knitters? And we're like, yeah, we're knitters. And he's like, all right. He's like, just come on and we'll take care of you. And I was like, he's really nice. So it was all good. So we sat in our vehicle, waited for the shuttle to come, and we took the shuttle, went, and they dropped us right at Foreland. Well, we had to jaywalk a couple of times, but we made it. And then same place, they had the place. We're showing them our little armbands. By this point, I'm not wearing it. I'm just like, here's my ticket. Maddie and I go in, and it is crowded. Mm-hmm. And it is raining, and we can't find anything anywhere. And now we have to go to a fashion show at 4:00, and I don't even know where to go. I'm trying to figure out where we show up. And it was talking about some knitting booth. Do you remember the name of the knitting booth?
Which knitting booth?
The one where we had to meet up to do the
it was called Modern Daily Knitting, I think.
Very good. Yes, Modern Daily Knitting. So we go to walk around, and we try to make the same route. We try to figure out the same route and yarns and everything else. And we were greeted by some really nice ladies, and they started talking about our yarns. And it was really hard to hear because it was raining, and it was like ricocheting off the tents. There was people everywhere, and they were kind of far away. So when they finally was like, Nimbus, grandpa sweater, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. And I was missing my husband and my baby so much. So like anybody that said anything remotely sweet to me, I was like a hot mess. And I normally don't cry in public. But I was like, oh my God, thank you. I can't believe you said that. And so it meant a lot. And then we found out that part of them were in the fashion show, and then they ended up recruiting all of their friends into the fashion show and for Pom Pom magazine. And so we didn't buy any yarn that day, and we decided to not, because we did it the day prior. Mm-hmm. And so we all got ready to go to the fashion show, and we did that.
Yes, that was really fun.
And that was fun. And they made a big deal about us being mommy and daughter, which was really cool. Mm. And we walked on the stage, tried not to fall. And then that went well until Maddie almost fell right off, like getting off the stage. Like we're not even near the stage anymore. And she, like, her shoe gets like suction, and it's like, and her foot flies out because she got shoes that were a half size too big. And she's like doing a scorpion in the air, and luckily she's got some ballet experience, so
thankfully I got some balance.
I suctioned out of her shoe, was like out of the mud. It was like quicksand almost, and then wet quicksand, and then I gave her a shoe and then fussed at her because she almost ruined her whole. Like, I'm not taking her home if she's covered in mud. So anyway, we are done with that. Now what happened? What did we do after?
Oh, then after that, Ooh, then we took off the sweaters. We got changed back into our normal clothing.
That's right.
And then after that,
Did we just kind of...
we went home.
Did we? Were we
Or
like...
not, technically it's not home. The hub.
No, I mean, like, we
hub-
left? Were we like, that's it, I'm done?
Yeah, pretty much.
Then the next day, Saturday, we're going to go to Rhinebeck. And Rhinebeck, I've never been to, but it, like, just kept on raining.
Yeah.
Just kept raining.
It rained more that day.
Did we eat that day? We didn't eat that day. Oh my gosh, I was a wreck that day. So we have to, okay, so rewind. We were supposed to meet like everybody on the hill, like all the Asians. And I'm like super excited. We're meeting all the Asians on the hill. I'm Asian. The people on the hill are gonna be Asian. Like this is gonna be a good time. So I'm like super excited, but then I get overwhelmed. And I'm just like super overwhelmed. And it stems from the insecurity of not being accepted in a community and not being accepted for being Korean, because I'm Korean, but I'm not like Korean. Anyway,
Explained it very well.
so I've never been really accepted by my people. So I'm kind of Americanized, if you will. And that's been tough on me. And it kind of brought back a lot of trauma. So without going too far in depth with that, I'll keep it at that. And so I'm a wreck and I'm exhausted. I'm missing my family and it's raining cats and dogs. And somehow I cannot peel myself to leave the cozy bed and breakfast location that we're at. And now my stomach's all in knots and I'm not even hungry. So we get ready to go. We go out there and we're late. We're like late, like 30 minutes late, aren't we? At least.
No, I think we're later. Wait,
It was about 30
actually
minutes.
no, 30 minutes. That's right. We lived like 6 minutes away.
Yeah, we were only like
We were
a
very
mile and a
close.
half away. So we literally got there quick, like in 5 minutes. And
It was really nice.
the parking was already filled up.
Oh my
And
God,
when
parking
we
was
pulled
horrible.
in, it was really bad. When we pull in, it's muddy. And I look over at Maddie and I'm joking and I'm like, it's muddy and we're going to get stuck. And she's like, no, it's fine. The grass is short. It's good. Next thing you know, I'm pulling in and my car's going, and I'm like,
And it just would not move.
we're stuck. And it's in mud. And all of a sudden you hear the ushers that are directing the cars, stop, no more, back it up. And I'm like, how am I going to get out of here? So now I have to like hit the gas. And I'm like playing this game where it's like, boom. And then finally I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, we also sprayed
I'm
the guy
out.
who was directing us too.
Wait, well, I almost sprayed you because like I can't
Oh my
hear
gosh.
him, and so I've got the window cracked open like this much, and then we like roll the window up, and all on the inside of the car door is muddy, and literally your arm's like right here, and there's like mud, and I'm like, oh my goodness, take a wipe
Like,
and just wipe
barely
it.
missed me.
Barely missed her newly knitted garment.
I would have been so upset.
I would have
I
been
love
so
that
sad.
sweater.
Oh my goodness, we had a belt fiasco. Not only was I falling apart, you were falling apart too.
Yes. The belt did not fit.
She looked so cute in her belt.
But I looked really cute. I was like very self-conscious about it because I thought it was like a bit weird.
Yeah.
But it actually looked really fashionable, so.
There was a little clip, I'll include it, where you can see her belt. Super cute.
It was really cute. So I'm glad I went with her idea.
Yes. So we get there. I'm so excited. And we enter into Rhinebeck. And it is a maze. I don't even know how people can figure out how to get around. I'm sure it's a lot easier for people who've been there before. But for us, we were like lost. I was lost.
It was really big.
This place is huge. And at some point, I was making the same laps around and somehow missing the buildings that we were at. And somehow we ended up like higher than the other places we were at. And I was like, what? And so it was really
That's
confusing
really weird.
conceptually. Yeah, but yarn was everywhere. There's tons of sheep. The people there were really nice.
They were.
I'm
they
just
were
now
super
remembering
sweet.
what other things we got to talk about too for the next day.
Ooh,
But
awesome.
we were really hungry because, again, we didn't eat, and we were having a belt fiasco. My emotions were a mess, and we decided to get some food. So I was like, ooh, let's get some fast food. And I'm all like the only one standing in line. I'm like, I'm so excited. And I'm like looking, and Maddie's like, maybe. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, my stomach's not going to like this. So I'm like, well, what should we get? And I saw this place that had like natural ice cream. I'm like, I like ice cream. So we're standing in line, and we're like, I'm observing the line next to our line, which is really long. And I told Maddie, I was like, what are they, like, what's in that tent? And it was souvenirs to Rhinebeck. And then somebody next to us was like, oh, yeah, that's souvenirs for Rhinebeck. And I'm like, are they giving them away for free? And she's like, no, they're charging like a lot of money for them. And I'm like, that's crazy. And she's like, yeah, I worked this event before. And I'm like, well, that's really cool. As I'm talking to her, her name's Lynn, Maddie told me, Mom, they only accept cash. And I'm like, oh, crap. I don't have any cash. Like, I spent my last $20. And then I was like, well, sorry for you, you're not getting ice cream. And then Lynn's like, no, I'll pay for it. And I was like, oh, no, that's okay. I'm like, please don't pay for ice cream. And then she's like, no, I insist. And it was so sweet of her. So I got
She was so sweet.
pecan walnut milkshake, and you got a maple and walnut and coffee double scoop of ice cream. We then left to go meet more people and look around. And then after that, my feet were killing me, like, bad. I thought it was a good idea to get these boots, but they ended up being a little bit too big. So I was overcompensating my foot, and it hurt so bad that I couldn't even drive without pain radiating from my foot. And I think it was sympathy pains because my husband had broken his foot too, and it has been very tricky for all of us because he's had to heal from that, poor thing. He injured it because our little daughter's so cute and distracted him, and so I broke his foot. He ended up almost chopping off his finger when he was cooking because she's so cute when she was a baby, and he ended up in the ER.
Yeah, he always gets stitches in his thumb.
I know. So then after all that, we went around, looked around some more. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot to talk about the hill. Oh my gosh. So we're like looking for the hill. We can't find the hill, okay? Because clearly it's not as famous as we thought it was. Because I'm like asking him, like, where's the hill? You know, we're going to the hill. No one knew where this hill was. Nobody. It was like finding the shuttle bus. There's like, and I didn't even see a hill. I thought it'd be like flatland, hill. No, there's like multiple hills. And I'm like, where's the hill? So finally, I had asked Maddie, I'm like, it's got to be a hill with a bunch of Asians on it. But, you know, you really can't tell. So there was a hill, and then there was a bunch of umbrellas. So I was like, that's got to be it. So we finally asked somebody else, and they're like, oh, it's right there. And I'm like, oh, it's right there. So we met like a bunch of people. We met Jess. Oh, I did meet one of my, so many people. So I was walking through, and I saw Dorothy. Is that how to pronounce her name?
Yes, Dorothy.
So I saw her because I saw her in Denver, and I'm like, hey! And then out pops my customer, EJ, and I was like, oh my goodness. And she surprises me, and she's like, I'm wearing Euphoria. And I'm like, you're doing what? And she's like, I'm wearing Euphoria. And I start bawling like a baby. And I'm like, that is the sweetest thing. I am so honored. Because out of all of the colors she could have worn, she chose ours. So I was like, holy cow, that is so sweet. And ironically, she was wearing a Brooklyn Raglan, which I was wearing a Brooklyn Raglan. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're twins. So that was so sweet. And that really warmed my heart. And that made my whole hill experience just so amazing. And that was one of my favorite moments. I also met another person that I met a long time ago trying to get a collaboration deal with Yarn.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
And she's like, hey, she's like, do you remember me? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Because I only asked like 3 people to do a collaboration with. And I loved her yarns. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm like, okay. But she remembered me. She said she had been following our journey and she's really happy for us. And that was just so endearing to see and experience. So that was really, really cool. So that was very worth it. And then we saw a couple of other people. We saw Woolen Folk as well. And then after that, we then progressed to checking out the entire Rhinebeck. And finally, after I just couldn't walk anymore, we had to leave.
Yep.
And I was looking for a latte shop.
Oh yeah, for some reason they didn't have one there.
No. Did we end up going to Corpot?
That day, yes, we did.
But where did we eat first? We bought snacks. We bought snacks the night prior because I needed foot insoles. And that, was it that night? Is that right?
That was that night, yeah.
Did we walk around? But we didn't.
Oh no, that was Friday night when we got that stuff.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wonder if my feet hurt so bad then. What, Rhinebeck? Didn't we wear insoles?
Yeah, we wore insoles.
Did we?
Well, I did.
No, I did too.
I think you did too. I think they weren't enough though.
Okay, it just must have not been enough. But, oh, I did. But it just wasn't enough. So we came back. We bought a bunch of junk food. So we, instead of going out to eat, we just stuffed our faces with junk food and did some work on social media and whatnot. And then we decided to go to, what did we do after? Corpot? Mm-hmm. Well, then we ended up going to Corpot. And then we wrapped the night up. And then that was the last thing we did before we left for good the next day. But then Sunday morning we got ready, got everything packed up, and then we head off to the buffet. And this buffet, oh my gosh, this hotel is so cute and quaint. And they have a lot of culinary graduates that go to school there. They have like top star executive chefs that work there, graduate, and then they end up opening up restaurants or cooking there, and the food was out of this world.
It was amazing.
So good. I ended up replicating the avocado and toast for dinner the past few nights, but it was so good. And they had breads, they had pastries, they had fruit, they had pomegranate, they had just so good. And then we, okay, so rewind. So as you're walking in, we see a lady behind the bar area. And then there's 2 other ladies. And Maddie started talking to one of them because she heard them talk about brioche. And she's like, do you guys knit? And they thought Maddie was asking if...
Okay, there you go.
And then they thought Maddie was asking if they worked there because one of them was standing back there. And they ended up, it was a very pleasant surprise what ended up happening next. But we met some really nice ladies there and they were so great. So as we're eating, we're like getting spoiled, getting, double shots of espresso, we're getting hot tea, and it's just remarkable. And then the next thing you know, I'm looking at the time, like there had been a huge mound of earth that had basically fallen on the train tracks. So our Amtrak was canceled the night prior, the night prior to us leaving.
Yes.
And I told my husband, and he's like, well, you need to set up an Uber like now because all the tickets are out. So like a chunk of earth, it had rained so hard that a chunk of earth had fallen on the tracks and basically canceled our trip on the tracks. So I was like, okay, cool, that's fine, I can Uber. And I was kind of sad about it because I'm like, well, I'm going to have to be in an Uber for 3 hours, but thankfully, at least we have a means of transportation. I have an appointment for an Uber, and I'm trying to you have to plan it out. So just because you have an Uber, you have to make sure you show up at the airport a couple hours ahead of time. So you have to figure out all the logistics so you don't miss your flight and then miss your, transportation home. So I'm checking the time, figuring out when we have to leave, when we have to catch our Uber, and I have to return my rental to Enterprise. So I have to schedule that in because I have to drive all the way to Poughkeepsie and, figure all that out. So I was like, oh, it's a lot of logistics. So I told Maddie, I'm like, we have to go in like 5 minutes. And you're just eating. You don't have a care in the world. And I'm like, we have to go. And next thing I know, the most incredible thing, Deb looks at me and goes, where are you guys going? And I'm like, JFK. And she's like, I live 5 minutes from JFK. I can take you guys. I'm like, no, that's okay. And she's like, no, I'm taking you. And I'm like, it's okay. We got an Uber. And she's like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer and you're going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And then guess what I do?
You start crying.
I start crying.
And there's like a few others there too. Like that's right. Like I don't think you noticed, but like a few people behind us, like they're like looking and they're like, huh? Like they looked like
that's
really
story,
like, confused.
That's the story of my life. Like there's always people watching. I'm like, what up? And Deb was so nice, and Linda and everybody that we met they were so incredible. So we told her, we said, okay, well, my flight leaves at this time and I have to drop off my car at Enterprise at this time. So they met us at Enterprise, and it was so cute because before we left they called us and said, do you want to go ahead and put your suitcase in the back of our vehicle so we know that we have enough room? And when we got there I said, yeah, I was like, this is funny. I told Maddie, now that if we change our minds we can't, because you have our suitcase. So it worked out really good. We stopped at a bathroom, so we got a bathroom break. It was just like such an incredible trip. We laughed, we cried, we laughed some more, and we shared stories. And the drive there was so quick and smooth. We were not stuck in traffic at all. That was like the best trip.
That was a really nice
from
drive,
Rhinebeck to JFK.
Plus we didn't have to cut through Manhattan too.
Correct. So it was really nice. We ended up getting to the airport perfectly on time. Everything was so smooth. We were able to stop, get some food, stop and get some lattes, stop and get on the plane. The plane trip this time, since we sat in the middle where the wings are, was so good for our motion sickness, because I get motion sickness, but I barely even noticed this time around, and it was just so smooth. So smooth. It was really nice. Way different night and day from Denver trip on the way there with turbulence, sitting in the back of the plane. If you have motion sickness, never, ever, ever, ever sit on the back of the plane. Ever. Ever. Anyways, after all that was said and done, we make it home, and then my husband had a delicious breakfast waiting for us. He made us fruit, corned beef hash, omelets, what else? Biscuits. Yeah, and it was really good. It was so good. So that was so nice to come home to. But other than that, that was our trip.
Yep.
And we had such a fun time. The people that we met, oh my gosh, I forgot to name all the people that we met. Oh my gosh. People. Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this back in there. When we were at the warm-up dinner, we ended up meeting Tony from TL Yarncraft, because she pulled in, or she was driving around, and we saw her, and we got to see her, and she is so sweet.
She is so sweet.
So sweet, and just an awesome person to be around. You can feel so much joy just being around her, and she is just so great. Can't wait to see her again. And yeah, she's gorgeous. She's tall. She's like really tall. I didn't expect that. And yeah, she's like model tall. And
she looked really good too.
So good, so great. And so it was such a treat to meet her. It was so much fun to meet all of those people on our trip. So yeah, it was a very well-rounded trip. It was sad hearing about all the things that happened to the other vendors, but I feel like it really brought the community closer together, which was nice. So
yeah.
So thanks for watching, everyone. And yeah, so that is our trip in a nutshell. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.